Are we ready?
Do I sound ready?
Check, check, check. 1, 2. Here we go. All right. Oh, I gotta fix the background. Look, you left the background open. We are professionals, folks. We call this the Rough Report because it's so smooth. Like that. Yeah. Welcome to another live show. Thank you so much for joining us. I haven't done all the posting. Usually when we go live, I post all the links on the pages and the things. I'm still doing that. So we got a few fun things we're going to cover today.
I mean, I don't know if it's fun.
that might be a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just being a little facetious when I say fun.
Yeah. Because everything is awful and getting worse. Huzzah!
Yeah. We are live.
No. But frowns and upside downs, we have each other, and we have the interwebs to, what's the word I'm looking for? Not remorse, not reminisce. Bitch, whatever. We can bitch about everything with each other.
Exactly. like we're definitely going to be today.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a few things to talk about. Some of you saw my Matt Walsh video that I posted recently. We're going to be doing some reactions to that. We're going to be talking about, in conjunction with that, sort of, we're going to be talking about some of the anti-LGBTQ legislation and what that means and why it's a problem. We touched a little bit on this last week, but didn't get too into the weeds with it. So I'm hoping to cover a few more details to make it more explicit, because it seems like some folks don't really understand what the problem with these bills is. I think there might be a little bit of sea lioning involved in that. And again, we'll cover those aspects. And if we have time, I'm hoping we do, we're going to get to talking about Canada's favorite douchebag, Galen Weston. The guy is like a never-ending, like, spewing geyser of bullshit. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
it
he's
just seemed too lazy to say bullshit.
He's kind of like Canada's answer to Elon Musk, billionaire who should just
not techie though.
No, I'm saying billionaire whose image would benefit from him shutting the fuck up and fucking off. Because we
honestly, like, especially like this can't be said enough about Elon Musk. If the dude simply shut the fuck up, so many more people would like him, right?
Well, it's just he benefited before from a lower profile of being thought of as this, really cool, quirky guy. But then just the more people hear him.
Hello,
and
Nex,
understand
by
him.
the way. We see you. Your comments will appear here, assuming my chat widget works as it's supposed to today. Sometimes it seems a little wonky. But thank you for joining us.
Yeah. More people thought he was just some weird, quirky dude. But then he just kept being in the public eye more and more and more. And so we have all been very disabused of that notion. Or at least more of us have been disabused. There's still Elon fanboys who, God help them, like, I'm not going to be the one to dissuade them, but...
and when it comes to, like, being online and on Twitter and on YouTube especially, I feel like there's a bit less of this on Facebook specifically, but in those two places, the ridiculousness of people is, like... You genuinely don't know if they're doing a bit or not. Like, okay, it's like, are you doing like a character, like online performance art thing where you're just being like a silly douchebag on purpose? Or is this genuinely what they believe? You can't honestly tell. Like, and that's what ruins like a lot of those kind of like baity jokes for me, is like when it's obvious enough that it's bait, it's like haha, it's funny, and then when you get like, there's no difference between the bait and someone's genuine beliefs, and you're just like, oh, you caught the bait, and it's like, but did I though? Because people are honestly like that. So how can it be bait?
Yeah. Well, it's like someone being like, oh, well, obviously it's satire. It's like, have you been alive for the past 6-7 years?
It's obvious.
How the
like
fuck?
No one thinks like this in reality. It's
yeah, like I wish, but fuck, we've been proven wrong so much as of late that like, fuck, who even can tell satire or a joke anymore?
Yeah, honestly. So let's get a bit to this video. There's only like, you can watch the video on the channel if you want. So I'm obviously not going to show the whole thing. But if you didn't see it, just to establish the point, I'm going to just show a little clip of it here. So what do we got here? I'm hoping this is the stretch where I actually like don't pause the video for a good minute or so and just let the dumbass talk. I think what got a lot of people's attention though is two things. I put Matt Walsh right in the title. Didn't realize how much the YouTube algorithm would push that on Matt Walsh fans, but it definitely found their feed. This video has more views than any other that I've made. On YouTube I normally get like, I don't know, 50 to 70 views. Really depends. It kind of fluctuates somewhere around there. This one's sitting at 700 views, presently 732 to be exact. And some of the comments and responses to this, I think, are just like, it almost highlights the point I'm making in the video. So anyway, here we go. Reality right within the first few about this. Okay. If we don't take this seriously, this is going to get worse. And lo and behold, look, we have actual laws on the books now demonstrating that. So an obvious lie and an obvious divorce from reality right within the first few seconds of this video.
But I want you, if you're in that group, I want you to listen to this part very closely. Started it.
It's going to require a lot of intellectual fortitude. There we go. This is here where we are. It really doesn't.
Remember this. You started it. You started it. So I see you on social media and on the news and out marching the street, crying your crocodile tears and claiming that you're being set upon by fascist right-wingers who won't let you just live your lives in peace. What did we ever do to you, you cry? Why are you so angry at us? Well, let me answer that question. You see, the rest of us were living our lives.
Oh, man.
We were minding our own business. When you came along and demanded that we abandon everything we know about fundamental physical reality for you.
So, yeah, I think that's the longest I let the video play without interrupting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to watch the full video, it's right there on the YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share. Let's get some diversity of voices in the comments there. There's a few people giving like worthy positive praise to my work there, I guess you could say. But there's also a fair amount of pretty funny comments here. Like for this one, for instance, this is the top comment from just 9 hours ago. Interesting to have your own viewers vehemently disagree with your take. One thing is for certain, people are not stupid and they will call out anyone who tries to treat them as such. Yes, kind of like I was doing to Matt Walsh in that video, because it's stupid. And so are you, evidently. Interesting that your own viewers... You have literally never seen my channel before. Again, this got shown to you because you watch stuff like this. The algorithm fed it to you because this is what you like. And
Hoisted by your own petard.
Yeah, and like, I have like 80 viewers. You know what I mean? Like, I have 80 subscribers to this YouTube channel. My camera, the autofocus on this thing is being horrendous.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It has a mind of its own.
I think it's because of the light, but
Yeah, maybe.
anyway.
But anyway, yeah, well, now that you pointed it out, it's going to start to bother me. My viewers vehemently agree with my. These are obviously Matt Walsh viewers. In case that wasn't obvious, these are his barnacles. You know, like. Here, let's see what I can do about that. If it is the light's fault, I'm just gonna unplug it in a second, or maybe I'll just like restart the video camera or something. I don't know. Oh my god, it's actually so bad.
It's because of the transes and the gays. They're
Yeah.
interfering with the reality.
I'm being shadow banned by the internet for speaking my truth, man. And then, like one person here, can you mention some of the red state laws and go into them deeply? Would be an interesting video. I have a slight feeling that this person like said that as sort of like the smug gotcha, like, yeah, go into the details. I dare you.
Hey, Jessica.
Hello, Jessica. Thank you again for joining us. But the thing is, I do have some of those details pulled up for this episode, and I think it's going to demonstrate loud and clear what my point is. Not that any of you people particularly care, obviously, right? Like, if knowing what these laws said and what their actual impact was of any concern to you, and I emphasize the word concern as in concerning, then you wouldn't think the things that you do. Obviously. So, you're just committed to your thing. And then other people like just long live Matt Walsh, stuff like that. Okay. These are my favorite kind of comments where they try and come off like they're being like really respectful. Like, we're just having a discussion. I'm being very polite. I'm very open-minded. Right. And,
they're so mad that doctors and mental health professionals have said trans people are real and valid. They gotta cry. That one part right away. That's fine.
I'm sure some of these people do know the laws, Jessica. I'm sure some of them do. It's just like they like what the fallout of them is. That's the main takeaway here. They like the fact that it is bigotry. They like the fact that, they're getting their sort of culture war political ends out of it, ostensibly. Sorry, what were you saying, dear?
No, I was just reading out the screen.
Oh, you're
and then I ran away.
Yeah. For some reason, the comment, that comment didn't show up on the side panel here, so I can't read it. It's gone into the ether next. I'm sorry.
All right, something about like them being mad that science says trans people exist. But
that's the thing. The overwhelming amount of medical professionals agree with not only gender-affirming care as a whole, but gender-affirming care for minors, people who are maybe prepubescent or going into puberty or in the middle of puberty. They overwhelmingly agree that gender-affirming care, including hormones, is medically prudent,
and literally none of that includes surgery.
Yeah. Like the idea that they're mutilating minors' bodies, and it's like that. Hormone therapy is as far as it goes, as far as I know.
And the most towards mutilation of minors for gender-affirming care is in the case of intersex children or children who just don't outwardly fit the mold of what they expect them to look like. And so there's a lot of cases of either intersex children or boys who are just born with too small of a penis actually having their having
Yeah.
surgical intervention that they in no way could consent to
Yeah.
before they even have any
And
concept
that's
of their
obviously
gender.
above and beyond
No,
like,
but it's
the norm for what, most trans people go through. This is like we're talking about something very sincerely next level as far as medical needs go.
Yes, but that's not a medical need. But like none of these circumstances are taking that into account.
Right.
They're saying that like once children start expressing what their realities are, they're saying that doctors are doing these things. But no, historically, and I'm not sure if currently, I hope not, historically, it's been doctors undergoing these before the children have any, when they're still infants, before they have any option to consent. And sometimes against the consent or knowledge of their parents. Just the doctor sees that like, oh, this doesn't jive with what I think it should look like, so I'm just going to lop that off. Like, there are cases I will go in and I'll research because I know what I'm saying sounds inflammatory and sounds really fucked up. I will go back and I'll get the case for that because I didn't. I just remembered this one case now, and so I have to go research so I can bring you to show you what this is about.
Yeah. So to touch back onto these comments here and what some of them their takes on what these. What I'm saying is like calling out Matt Walsh for his ridiculousness and his views on these laws and why these laws are necessary to him and things like that. So like I was saying, these comments in like these are my favorite kind where they try and approach this like this is a really respectful debate, and quite frankly I'm not having a respectful debate with you. Fuck you, quite frankly. There is nothing to debate. So this person, Dex King, I want you to know I do respect you and your opinion, despite personally agreeing with Matt on these issues. Just pure wankery. I respect you and your opinion, but here's all the disrespectful things I'm about to say. I see Matt's stance as primarily protecting children in schools. What does that even mean? That is not an argument. That is not these people will tell you like, oh, why don't you get into the details, right? Like, why don't you really tell me? Why don't you really explain it? Why don't you source your work? And then they say shit like that. In my opinion, and from what I've seen, many trans activists go further than just literally existing and being allowed to exist. They usually push these highly sexual displays that simply aren't appropriate to kids. No, they don't. That is not a thing that happens. You can't prove that it does because it's bullshit. That is literally made up nonsense that Matt Walsh taught you.
Yeah.
You are listening to a moron, and thus you are going to have the opinions of a moron. There is no circumstance in which that happens. There's nobody doing sexual displays to children at these drag shows. And if that's ever happened, it has been some sort of extreme outlier. Because when you're talking about like Drag Time Story Hour, the drag performer sits there in like a pretty princess dress and just reads a storybook. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, what do you like? And even if you're talking about the sort of dance routines that you might see where, they're kicking their legs up in the air, shaking their booties and stuff like that. You can see dance routines like that in any public place, in any music video,
in toddlers and tiaras,
any straight situation, toddlers and tiaras, kids beauty pageants, which are fucking creepy as hell beyond anything LGBTQ. I don't care who you are, what you think. That shit's weird. But that's entirely the point, right? If you can shift the blame to LGBTQ peoples, you stop paying attention to the real creep boys, like the type of people who are judging children's beauty pageants. It's just absolutely horrendous. So, I remember somebody seeing a video of a drag performer, and it was like kind of like out in the street. So it was a public display, like some of these laws we'll be touching on, get into. She does this move with her legs where they sort of like spread out, and she does like a spin kick thing. And like somebody's trying to say how sexual that was. And it was like, did you ever see a show called The Big Comfy Couch growing up? Because at the end of every single episode, Luna did a routine where her legs were like the arms on a clock, and she'd go around the clock. It's the quite literally the exact same thing.
Because that's a fun and cool thing to do.
Yes. It's acrobatic. It's athletic. It's a show of like, physical prowess and excitement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are going to sexualize it, that's you. That's a you thing, sexualizing that. Like if you're horny for clowns, whatever, that's your fetish. But a clown on TV doing their clown thing is not a inherently explicit sexual act. That's a you problem. Yeah. And that's the entire thing is that, like fundamentally at its core, if you boil all of this nonsense down, fundamentally at its core, what it comes down to is when gays do it, it's sexual. Mm-hmm. And when straight people do it, it's normal. Mm-hmm. That's the homophobia at the heart of it all, right? If it's gay, it's got to be just indecent in some way. But when straight people do it, that's just society. That's what we do. That's normal stuff. That's homophobia in its purest form, right? It's where all the hate seeps out of, right? And go further down these comments here. I'll just touch on a couple more.
I want to touch on
that previous one. Okay.
Yeah. So part of the sea lining is gaslighting of I'm just asking questions, and also I support you, but, and wow, is that butt loaded. So he says that additionally, we, in brackets, Matt included, based on what I've heard, respect your ability to exist and identify however you want. But, however,
he doesn't, though. He quite explicitly does not agree with that.
No, not at all. However,
there's no mincing words there.
No. However, we do not believe men and women are interchangeable, or that a man can become a woman.
That's a complete self-contradiction, right? I believe, it's the same thing, years ago, back when J.K. Rowling first started becoming problematic. Those were her talking points to try and make it seem like I'm not really transphobic, right? Mm-hmm. That was her angle to start with. Yeah. That's the exact same thing. It's just I respect trans people's rights to exist. They're just not real, and I don't respect them.
And I don't think I don't think they exist, and if they do, then they shouldn't. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't mean that we don't still love and respect you as a person. It just means that we're going to pass legislation to make sure that. It just literally means
I don't care if you die.
Yeah, it means that we're going to pass legislation to try to hasten your death.
It's pure bullshit.
Yeah, no,
here's a classic. No one deserves respect unless they earn it. I'm sorry, the rest of there's a paragraph there. Dudes are mad. If you're coming to a complete nobody's YouTube, and it's I admit it, they try and call me a nobody in this, but it's I'm aware that I only have 80 subscribers, right? No. I'm pretty aware of the situation there. No. But if you're coming to my YouTube video so seething that I dunked on your boy, that you're writing paragraphs at me, my God, get a life. If I respect the people who just dropped one sentence, this guy, you're divorced from reality. It's sure, it's a no you, but at least it's only one sentence. Yeah. He maybe has a life outside of the internet. No one deserves respect unless they earn it. Just quite simply, that is dumb. Nothing tells me you are a red flag riddled toxic piece of shit more than opening your sentence that way. Because quite frankly, all humans deserve respect inherently by being human. If I meet you for the first time and I don't know anything about you, I, by default, am going to respect you in your existence. The thing is, all you can do is go down from there. If you just start saying dumb shit, it's okay, the respect points are now being docked. But as far as I'm concerned, human decency dictates that you would be starting off at 100%. And only down to go from there. Maybe at least 90%. You know what I mean? You don't have to think that you don't have to idolize them just because they're in front of you and a human being, but they deserve an inherent amount of respect because yes, they're a human that is currently alive.
But then that ties in no one deserves respect unless they earn it. That ties into that Jordan Peterson spiel from a bit ago of, if I don't know your gender, then I don't know how, what box to put you in and how to respect you. Like, that's literally like his
Yeah,
point.
I remember that, where he's just like, yeah, if I don't know you're a man or a woman, well, how am I supposed to know to treat you with misogyny? Or like, that's basically like the extent of that video. I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, that was pretty good.
It's like, I don't know, maybe just start with the baseline of don't be a little cock rocket. Like, is that hard? I'm not sure.
You wouldn't think it is. And like, yeah, and then like another classic, no, you look in the mirror. Yeah, okay, here it is. This guy talks about some laws, but sounds like a believer telling God is real. I think a 12-year-old might have wrote this comment. I am sure at some point God will appear and settle things once and for good, probably before this content maker will ever name one law passed in these red states. What elusive laws are you speaking of? Well, Boris, I am glad you asked, because I have several tabs on this pulled up on the old computer screen here.
I would love if this was all just a fever dream and that didn't actually happen. That would be the best outcome. I would be ecstatic.
I would love to find that this guy is right. Oh wait, like, whoa, there are no laws. Whoa, that's crazy.
High five.
Well, yeah. It's problem solved.
Yeah.
I have nothing to talk about now. This is great.
Yeah, we're just gonna go be happy.
Yeah. But here, for example, is, you don't have to trouble yourself with reading all of this, but here is the actual bill summary from the actual website of the Tennessee General Assembly. This particular Tennessee law, I will go into some detail about. As it notes here, it deals with obscenity and pornography. So, again, I won't trouble you with having to read that yourselves. Allow me. Sorry, just got to find the right tab on my other screen here so I can actually read it. Crap. Where? Why are you doing this to me?
It's going forever.
Oh, okay.
HBO9?
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Found it. Okay. This bill creates an offense for a person who engages in an adult cabaret performance on public property or in a location where the adult cabaret performance could be viewed by a person who is not an adult. Now, let me tell you right now, if that was the long and short of the law, if that was it right there, I would say, I don't know why that law needs to exist. I'm quite certain Tennessee and pretty much any lawful jurisdiction throughout all of North America has laws in the books regarding children not watching strip club stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If that was it, that'd be fine. But it does, of course, go much beyond that, and that's why it's a new law. The bill defines an adult cabaret performance to mean a performance in a location where location other than an adult cabaret that features topless dancers, go-go dancers, exotic dancers, strippers, and here's the real crux of it: male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to the prurient, that is to mean sexual, interests or similar entertainers, regardless of whether or not performed for consideration. So the underlying thing here is what this law is basically setting up is that the act of drag in itself, no matter what that drag performer is doing, is adult cabaret. They could be reading a storybook. Just by the mere act that they are being a male or female impersonator and doing drag, that inherently that is an adult sexual act. That is the fallout from what this bill is doing, and thus a concerted effort to restrict the freedom of expression of LGBTQ peoples, because, as we all know, drag performances and gay culture are extremely linked, right? So this bill expressly preempts an ordinance, regulation, restriction, or license that was lawfully adopted or issued by a political subdivision prior to July 1st. Sorry, I'm getting too into the legal jargon here. But yeah, basically, and then the rest just gets into certain amendments about the specific language used and stuff like that.
But also, I want to read off the present law defines harmful to minors as that quality of any description or representation in whatever form of nudity, sexual excitement, sexual conduct, excess violence, or sadomasochistic abuse when the matter or performance, would be found by the average person applying contemporary community standards to appeal predominantly to the prurient, shameful, or morbid interests of minors. Can you go down a little bit on that one?
Yep.
Minors is patently offensive to prevailing standards in the adult community as a whole.
Thank
with
you.
Respect.
I was hoping, I would have forgot that if you didn't just mention it right now. And yeah, that is an important thing to highlight. Basically, like what the contemporary idea is at the time. Now, talk about social engineering, folks. Yeah, if you can push the idea, if you can make the reasonable legal argument that the standard of society in Tennessee, in this neighborhood, in maybe a particularly conservative area, dictates that, behaving in a certain way that to anybody else, maybe in any other part of the world would consider it just normal stuff. If that little corner of the world in Tennessee considers that sexual, they can take action against that. Not
even just sexual, patently offensive to prevailing standards in the adult community as a whole, with respect was suitable for minors, and taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for minors.
That is quite explicitly like, where's all the freedom of speech purists all of a sudden? Where are they? Where did they go? It's almost as if they're all just insane right-wingers that want to instill their fascist beliefs on people. And there's one thing that these types of fascists really get offended by. If there's one thing that really offends them, it's naming them as fascists. That's what these people in my comments on my video are ultimately upset about, is that I put a little SS hat on Matt Walsh because that's what he is. Calling this stuff what it is makes them scared because that gives up the game, right?
Yeah. And so I think tying into the game, there's a couple things. I think we should hop from here to Jane Fonda.
Oh, okay.
Because like this.
Did you give me any links on that, by the way, or
no?
Or am I pulling stuff up now?
No,
okay.
I assumed that you're gonna pull it up. Okay. Because we know that all of these things happen in concert with misogyny. And, you're not going to have homophobia and trans misogyny without misogyny. That's not placing women at the center. It's just like it's going to bleed. It's always going to bleed, right? It's the whole, first they came for yada yada. So yeah, James is gonna bring up the.
Okay, here's the video footage, and let me be explicit here. I'm not gonna mince words. I got nothing to lose. I don't have 1 million subscribers. Jane Fonda is 100% correct.
Yeah.
100%. There is no question. Here she is on The View.
Indomitable.
Yeah.
Yes. From the time I met her in the. What time was that?
Late 70s.
Late 70s. And she would, trying to get us all to do 9 to 5, and she would say, we've got to take a leap of faith. And she meant that. She meant that heart so deeply from herself and her heart.
Yeah.
That's all there was to it, and I kind of glommed right onto her.
Uh-huh. Smart. And haven't stopped glomming, because you guys have been friends, as you mentioned, for...
And if I had her head of
She's
hair,
always been a real one, right? Like since back then.
She does have nice hair, yeah. 50 years into a friendship, do you remember when you first actually met? Do you remember the first time?
Totally, yeah. Yeah. She swept into the almonds, and I was playing. Oh.
Swept.
Well, you tell it. I'll say that.
I'm not a sweep-in kind of person, but anyway.
Is this the right video?
It is.
Well,
But
you had a
it's down a little
fundraiser
bit.
to go to. You were trying to get in, and you did. She did just that. She was wearing a cape.
Should I go forward a little bit?
She go forward
Okay,
a
I'm
little
gonna
bit.
go forward a little bit.
Yeah, so keep going, researching.
Me Too scandal.
3 jobs. Contracted out. Lighter note. Is it?
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I might be watching the totally wrong thing here.
Anyway, Jane Fonda, what a gift.
What a gift.
Okay, anyway, TLDR on that one. So just in case James doesn't pull together. So yeah, Jane Fonda basically saying that, 50-year camera. Yeah, so he totally the wrong one. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, she's just talking about how abortion rights have been rolled back, and just saying that we're not going to go back.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, I think this is the one.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I think I finally got it here,
you
folks.
did.
I think I finally got it here.
Many decades now of having agency over our body, of being able to determine when and how many children to have. We know what that feels like. We know what that's done for our lives. We're not going back. I don't care what the laws are. We're not going back.
I think the women will rise up.
That's the activists.
Say this is important. I like actually how, even though The View tries to sort of sweep the answer under the rug, I like that they asked the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jane
speaking, and she probably will get a Nobel Prize.
But it's the truth.
Very soon.
It is the truth. We're not going to do it.
Besides
We're gonna
marching and protesting, what else do you suggest?
Besides marching and protesting, what do you suggest? Remember what Martin Luther King said about the language of the unheard.
Well, it
I
doesn't
thought of
happen
murder.
overnight. It's not a miraculous. What did you say?
Murder.
She's kidding. Wait a second. She's just
kidding.
kidding.
Don't say that. That's
Oh, you don't know. They'll
She's
pick up
kidding.
on that and
yeah,
just run
that's
with
the
it.
word.
I hope they pick up on that. I hope everybody hears that loud and fucking clear. Because let me tell you what these laws do is they kill people.
Literally, not even figuratively, not even like
if those assholes in the state legislatures and all that want to kill women legally through their laws, fuck them. What are we being polite about this for? What is there to be polite about?
And that's the thing. We've been so propagandized for decades, and I know that I say this a lot because it's still true every single time I say it. Like even the way that
I like how
you were,
Jessica and Next are talking about Grace and Frankie in the comments. Grace and Frankie is apparently delightful. Watch it.
Yeah, on Netflix, I think. Anyways, yeah. So as James mentioned, that Martin Luther King's Jr.'s comment about the rights or the language of the unheard, even the way that his legacy has been
completely watered down.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been taught that, MLK, he got,
Let me tell you, folks, the FBI doesn't fucking whack you for no reason. You're not a nice, fluffy guy in their eyes.
Even if, so people should consider
I didn't say
that
it was
they
a
say
good reason. I just said no reason.
People should consider that, so people should consider that if we're telling everyone that the way to progress is through marches and peace, they murdered him anyways, right? Mm-hmm. So A, they murdered him anyways. B, that isn't actually what he was all about. C, that isn't actually how we got any kind of progress. Like, any progress has been a battle. And I don't mean that figuratively with words and strongly worded letters. Like, there had to be some muscle and action to back it up. MLK was a socialist, and we need to remember that. Yes, 1,000 times
100%.
yes. Yeah.
Absolutely a socialist.
Yeah. And, fucking, people talk about, the good ways to do things. Sorry, Stonewall was a riot. Yeah. Like pride parades nowadays.
If you don't want riots and fire and blood, maybe whoever like Biden, if you don't want that in your streets, fucking do something.
Well, don't make people so desperate that that is their last option.
Like Biden tweeted something today, like, we just want all the trans citizens and LGBTQ peoples to know we have your back. What are you going to do about it?
My back's
Because
against
if
the
you don't
fucking
do
wall.
anything, you're going to have a bigger problem on your hands.
Yeah.
People just listen to what Jane's saying there. I don't care. We're not going back.
No.
And she might be talking about abortion. It could be like any civil rights issue along those ways. We're not going back. And if you want to threaten it, you're going to have a problem on your hands.
Yeah.
Do something.
Yeah.
Do something.
And that's the thing is that, folks, and I think potentially, millionaires, politicians, people in charge, they forget that protesting was the nice option. And that when you leave people not nice options, then we come to your house and basically
honestly,
pull it
this
apart
kind
brick
of
by
like
brick.
DemSoc stuff, like the Democratic Socialist stuff, the regulating capitalism and kind of your more, I guess, liberalistic approach. That is the compromise, right? Because without the compromise, it's going to get a lot worse for you.
Well, I mean, like, looking at the housing crisis and, like, the, food crisis right now, you're making people homeless and hungry and desperate. You're not leaving people nice options, right? And so I think that, are you going to go over to Galen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm going to continue on a couple of these bills. I want to get into more details on those. This is HB 0239. Which is, here, I'll pull it up on the screen real quick for you all. This one's a bit of a shorter one, so it's a little easier to see. But again, looking up these laws and reading them, it actually is not that difficult. It really isn't. If you want to know what they say, you can definitely find out, and it's not difficult. This isn't heady research, is basically what I'm saying. I'm not a legal genius, but they put this stuff up for everybody to see. It's not hard to find. But anyway, as introduced, adds sex as a defined term for statutory construction purposes. Let's expand on construction purposes a little bit. The bill summary: for purposes of interpreting the meaning of the word sex throughout present law, except in statutes where the context otherwise requires, the bill defines sex as a person's immutable biological sex as determined by anatomy and genetics existing at the time of birth and evidence of a person's biological sex. For purposes of this definition, evidence of a person's biological sex includes, but is not limited to, a government-issued identification that accurately reflects a person's sex listed on the person's original birth certificate. Basically, if you come out with a dick, you're getting an M, and there's nothing you can do about it, and fuck any affirming care that might come that you might need.
It's funny. I don't recall getting my genomes tested upon birth.
Yeah.
Do you?
Like we
Did
all
you
remember,
get a test?
like I could probably find it really quick. It was a hugely viral thing. That the sex biologist, like there was a woman who was like a PhD in biology, who broke down all the various different chromosomes and various interconnecting. What are they going to check out all the chromosomes to ensure they match your gender? Yeah, exactly.
Did you get your chromosomes checked? I didn't get them.
Like everybody's, there's just X and Y chromosomes. No, that is just like the bare surface level. Like there is so much going on underneath there. And again, like I don't know, if you search like Twitter thread chromosomes or something along those lines, you'll probably find that thread because it got so much attention at that time and still goes around again from time to time, where yes, a very well-educated biologist breaks down all the different chromosomes, their different possible combinations, and how basically science today doesn't completely understand what that all means. We're just starting to figure it out, right? And so allowing people to explore themselves and express themselves the way they see fit is just a fundamental human freedom that we should all have. And putting through legislature that restricts that is it's just going to hurt people. And not to mention, I read a stat earlier today that basically the whole woke stuff even like a vast majority of Americans, like 70% or something like that, think being woke is ultimately a positive thing. So that even weighs on a lot of conservatives. And what we've seen from, like, and I even touched on it in the Matt Walsh video, and I think, again, this is part of what made them mad, because their culture war, although it is going to hurt people with legislature like this, it is a losing game, electorally speaking. This is not getting them political wins. The past midterms in the United States was supposed to be a big red wave, right? That's what everybody was saying, the red wave. They didn't get nearly those results. And what were the notes that they hammered on the entire time? This bullshit culture war stuff. It is not getting them the results. And
that's why the gerrymandering is necessary.
Yeah, exactly. That's been part of the conservative political project, especially throughout the South in the United States for decades, right? Get a gerrymander and stack the Supreme Court, and then we can push through the laws that we want to push through. Fuck democracy, basically, right? That's the long and short of it. Yeah, it's called basic biology for a reason, right? Yeah. Incredible stuff. So yeah, this is designed to be particularly restrictive to people, and I can already hear the dumb Matt Walsh arguments in my mind, like, well, sex is biology, blah 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 blah, and it will just what I notice about these people, and like, I've been on the internet long enough, had these debates long enough, I've spent sincere time debating a lot of these people and gotten good enough that I can sniff out a bullshit argument from miles away, and I don't want to waste my time with it. But yeah, I've been on the webs long enough that it doesn't matter. You could fully defeat these people verbally. You can shut down their arguments. You can destroy them in debates. You can leave them absolutely positively speechless. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to turn around tomorrow and repeat the same thing they said yesterday.
They'll say, oh, well, that's just what I've always believed.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I always believed that Pokeroo was hiding in my closet.
Even if you squeeze the words out of them that, oh, maybe you have a point there. Maybe I was overreacting a little. Even if you get them to say something along those lines, they're going to, the next day, to the next person they find, repeat the exact same thing they said the day before without skipping a beat. It doesn't. The reality of it does not matter to these people.
Well, it's because they're not concerned about being correct. They're concerned about pushing their view
rather than being just factually correct. They're concerned about might is right. I actually one of the comments on the Matt Walsh thing was I purposefully went out of my way to say facts don't care about your feelings, Matt. Somebody got really upset that I used that slogan.
Yeah, you're saying that.
Yeah. So I said that in the I said, facts don't care about your feelings, Matt, because Ben Shapiro, who coined that phrase, and I think he still has it as his pinned tweet, actually, Ben Shapiro, coined that phrase. Some guy got, I can't believe you're using that quote against Matt. It's like you don't even know what you're saying. No, I very much do.
Literally do.
The joke, you... yeah. So read the comments on that video too. Like that's just a riot in of itself, because it's coping and seething all the way. No doubt about it. Now let's get into basically the healthcare bill. This is HB 1447 on the Tennessee legislature. As introduced, clarifies that prescribing hormone treatment for minors is not a standard medical practice when the treatment is for the purpose of enabling a minor to identify with or live as a purported identity inconsistent with the minor's sex, or treating purported discomfort or distress from a discordance between a minor's sex and asserted identity. So this bill is even careful in its language to specify if the treatment is for enabling their identity. Because, as we all know, these sort of hormone treatments and things like that exist for non-trans people, right? Like as one of our viewers there pointed out in the chat, that people do it if you hit puberty way early. They use puberty blockers to make sure that comes about at a more comfortable age, perhaps, right? This doesn't apply to that, of course. This applies specifically
to hurting trans kids.
To hurting trans kids. And so when I say that there are laws on the books right now that are specifically designed to hurt the lives and livelihoods of trans people, this is exactly what I was talking about.
Well, because like they even say we're not going to do anything to relieve your discomfort or distress.
Right?
Like that's literally in the wording. Like it's sociopathic.
It's quite deliberate and explicit in its language. The one thing, Iowa is even worse. Iowa is coming out with even more explicit stuff, but we're starting to run short on time. So again, you can look this stuff up. Iowa's legislature website is actually not as nice looking as Tennessee's. This is a lot more kind of, I don't know, cold and sterile, I guess you could say. The Tennessee one actually had like kind of a nice warm motif to it almost. This is very cold and sterile. But what I'd like to point out about this really quick that I found funny when I was reading through this is, so much of these of the anti-trans language circles around sex and gender, right? Like what you can't separate the two; they're intertwined. This is an important pillar to their beliefs, right? Or the beliefs that they're trying to push on everyone. This law, just out of legal necessity, defines both separately. You can see it right there. It's right there on the screen. A, gender means the physiological, behavioral, and social and cultural aspects of being male or female. This is what trans people have been trying to tell you and why their existence deserves respect. And so many people have been denying that, like, oh, you can't separate sex and gender. Sex and gender is completely intertwined. Yet there it is. Gender means the psychological, behavioral, social, and cultural aspects of being male or female. There it is, right there in their own transphobic fucking law. You can't escape this stuff. That's the reality of it. There is a difference, and this difference matters.
So, question from Hog.
No, I have questions. Oh, great! One of the Matt Walsh viewers is here. Ladies and gents.
That's what Hog.
I'm guessing.
Oh, no.
I'm guessing that's what he is based on his attitude. No, I have questions. Are there young people who are negatively affected by transgender treatment in a medical way? Negatively affect. Oh, he's going into detransitioners. That's what you want. You want to talk about detransitioners? Just say it. Just be explicit with what you want to talk about. I'm not an idiot. You might be.
Like detransition. Super...
it's incredible. You transphobic fucking morons will go on about how like, oh, these trans people, they're such a small aspect of society. Why should we change everything for them? And then you'll point out detransitioners, which is like a microscopic part of that supposedly microscopic part of society,
and
and treat it like it's a huge issue. Fuck you.
Yeah, and like
moron.
The whole treating, changing society and stuff. Literally, trans folks just want to exist, man. Like,
you know what I've seen from a lot of
thing.
detransitioners that aren't trying to run a fucking grift of some kind is though I've seen so many of them. I could pull up videos on Twitter right now of some of these very people saying, you know what, I decided to detransition, but people who want to transition absolutely should, and they deserve our support. That is the overwhelming consensus amongst detransitioners. No matter how much your Nazi-ass figures like Lauren Southern drags a poor kid onto TV to exploit them about their detransition thing and try and position it like this is a huge cultural problem. No. Detransitioners deserve love, respect, and support to support their identities just like anybody else.
And like John Boyle, so we should screw over 99% just because of a couple percent who didn't have a good experience. Sorry, it ran away from the screen before I could finish reading it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, seriously. And just the thing is that when folks are trying to come up with all these things, it's about the children. It's not about trans kids, because if it were about trans kids, you wouldn't literally have the wording in the law saying that we're not going to help with your discomfort or distress. You have laws in Florida now I'm not sure when it's going to get passed, but it was tabled that Florida could remove children from the care of their parents if either that child was trans or if one of their parents was trans. So, like, that is not in the best interest of children to remove them from loving, stable families. It is not in the best interest of the children who just aren't gender conforming to be stopped and interrogated when trying to take a piss. Like, literally no one benefits from trying to undergo a natural bodily function that all of us have to do multiple times a day, not being able to do that in public. Because someone's worried that the wrong genitalia is on the other side of a bathroom stall. Like, mind your fucking business. Wash your fucking hands. Yeah. Let people take a piss.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure, like, anybody who's been, like, a club goer, been bar hopping, partied pretty hard. I know I did. 10, 15 years ago, I was quite a party animal. And I was out on the town on the regular. There gets to a certain point at certain clubs or certain bars where the bathroom lineup situation gets so ridiculous that literally all the genders start using all the washrooms, and it just becomes lawless in that regard. And it always turns out for the better.
Yeah. I mean, people are just
like, everybody just wants to piss and get back to the dance floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Sea Lion is saying what happened to trans kids before this happened, like last century before, and they killed themselves, or they were murdered, or they were ostracized, or they just hid what they were. And we find out in adulthood
it's the same thing that happened to gay kids before gays were readily accepted into the society the way they eventually were.
And that's the thing.
They hid themselves away or did what they could. There are a lot of people who transitioned throughout the past century. Like one of they were gonna Scarlett Johansson was gonna make a movie about a 1920s like gangster that was trans.
Yeah, and then sorry, Sea Lion is saying, is that recorded because of gender dysphoria or transgenderism? Sorry,
is that recorded?
Sorry, the
Are
Nazis.
You get into records?
Sorry, the Nazis
burned
destroyed
those.
So
the
like
Nazis literally burned those fucking books, and I think you know that.
Yeah.
The little talking points they're using right now leads me to believe that you know exactly that what you're saying is untrue.
Mm-hmm.
You must know. You must be aware. Because if you're going to tell us about records of transgenderism and somehow not know that the Nazis burned all those books, like somehow you just missed that information in your travels.
Yeah. So like,
you're a moron.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. So when, because culturally, a lot of things have lost their context. And so we hear about like, oh, book burning. And we think that like, oh, we can't burn any books. Like, oh my gosh, there's a cookbook. It's a little bit ripped, but I can't burn it. I can't burn a book. Book burning was specifically used to destroy evidence. Yeah. Like scientific studies.
Literally, the Nazis burned down every piece of gender science because Germans and a lot of European doctors were some of the early pioneers of researching this stuff, right? So they had a lot of those that research, and they were able to destroy it.
Yeah. And so now,
I just asked questions. You're always just asking questions, but you know what? Get used to the idea that your questions are fucking stupid, bro.
No.
If you knew at all what you were talking about, or even actually gave a shit about what you're talking about, you would not have the line of questioning that you do.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's caca. But yeah, in like, Sea Lion is saying that homosexuals are persecuted in Islamic countries. Guess what? They're persecuted in North American countries too.
Who do you think is leading the crusade against LGBTQ peoples? Who is the main demographic doing that? American evangelicals.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's a Christian thing, my friend. So if you want to try and make this an Islamophobic argument on top of all else, guess what? Christians you've already fucking beaten that regard. Like, don't get all white supremacist on me on top of your fucking homophobia.
It's like, you don't need to go far. It's the call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah. Whatever argument we got,
here,
I guarantee you, I already know. Like I said, I've been through this before. I've been doing this for years. Our arguments are better. That's why we win. Despite all your gerrymandering, despite all your efforts, you can hurt us. You can win a battle. But the war is ours every single time. You can drag it
They're
out.
not throwing up buildings last time I checked. Sorry. Yeah, no. Just Sea Lion is saying how the LGBT community isn't in physical peril in North America because they're not throwing off buildings.
Oh,
they actually are.
They have to, yeah, like
especially trans women of color are in especially high risk of being murdered.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
fuck. Like, I'm not even going to bring up the news on that right now.
Do we actually have to have video footage of like a lynching to show you to make this point explicit?
I mean, Matthew
enough
Shepard,
for you?
like, you know, wasn't Matthew Shepard Canadian? Wasn't that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, we don't have to go far. And I know Matthew Shepard, that was a while ago, but yeah, what happened then has not stopped.
People like this fucking loser right here would love to have another Matthew Shepard. We can all tell, buddy.
I don't know. Now he's just talking.
Yeah. Apostate prophet about that, if you know that.
Whatever.
I don't know who Apostate Prophet is, and they sound just based on their name alone. Fuck them, wankery.
Yeah.
Get a real point. Don't tell me to ask somebody else. Bring up a real point. If you have like a coherent fucking point to make other than your sea lion trolling bullshit,
no.
God, you guys got nothing. You got nothing.
At least be original, because that just, you're boring.
I've heard it all before.
Yawn. But yeah, so one thing I want to address is that
Dave Rubin is such a moron. Like, he's friends with people that wouldn't even have him over for dinner.
Yes, literally.
It's pathetic.
Yeah, so like one thing I want to address is that one of the reasons I think that this has been able to happen, of these laws being written to roll back rights, is that just culturally we're not used to losing. Like, we're not used to losing rights. Yeah. And so, like, we've been taught that once
rare
a right is
that rights go in this direction.
Well, and we've been taught that, or at least even if not in words and attitude, we've been taught that once rights are won, they aren't reversed, and so we thought that we could just relax. Yeah. The right has not relaxed. They've just been organizing.
Gerrymandering and stacking the Supreme Court and being anti-democratic as possible, doing all your fascist stuff, going, oh, but we're not fascists.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can't call me a Nazi.
And again, like, what got you so mad about my Matt Walsh video was pointing out that the jig is up, that these do not equal electoral wins for you, that you are losing this culture war, and you and your Daily Wire fucking money grubbing sons of bitches are trying to take every dollar out of the house that's burning down.
No.
Their culture war is collapsing in on itself, because how you make your money is pushing this culture war to make for electoral wins for the right. And if that doesn't translate, your money's going to dry up. And once the money dries up, they got to switch talking points. Okay.
But then also you have states like Florida where they have such an iron grip on.
Oh, next, by the way, sorry, he's changing the subject.
Oh, I'm ignoring him.
He doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's grasping at straws. He's a sad little boy.
It literally doesn't matter. But then we have states like Florida that have such a super majority grasp on legislature that they can make sure that they just undermine any attempts at democracy, so that people who maybe weren't eager to vote before, thinking that everything's fine, nothing can really go that bad, so that those people, if they wake up and decide, oh shit, I gotta fucking vote these psychos out of here, they can't. You lost your chance, because they're, saying things like was it Lauren Boebert, was she saying that that they should make it so that that Democrats, the Democratic Party, is dissolved in Florida? Like, was that a fever dream?
You know what? I can't. I'll have to look that one up. Let's bookmark that one.
We'll bookmark that too.
For the next episode. I'm actually a little interested to unpack that. Yeah. We are getting to the end of the show here. Mm-hmm. So as much as I would love to continuing arguing with what are your thoughts on Hebrew Israelism? It's on the rise.
Cool, whatever.
God, dude, you are what a sad guy. I'll tell you what. We're going to be back next Sunday. Well, we're doing a live show every Sunday now, unless, something stands in our way. So we will be back 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next Sunday, just like we started this Sunday.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
I am going to, throughout this week, set up a situation where you might be able to call in. You can use your actual voice instead of typing. And, sometimes I understand that typing and the scrolling thing, it's moving fast. It's hard to keep the subject straight, right? If you want to use your voice and get on this show, I'll make it so you can call in and I'll answer some of your questions. I might call you a fucking moron while I do it, but if you're into it, I will be happy to facilitate that.
So much for the tolerant left.
Yeah. Let me tell you right now, we're not the tolerant left. We're tolerant of human rights. Like, we'll boast that. In terms of tolerance of like diversity in different peoples, yeah, we're all kinds of tolerant when it comes to that. If you are going to stand against that, no, we are not tolerant of that whatsoever.
We are very intolerant of intolerance.
Yes. Does that sound contradictory and paradoxical? Well, read about the paradox of intolerance. That's literally a philosophical subject. Google it. Happy reading.
I'm happily intolerant of people who suck.
Yeah. That we didn't get to talk about Galen Weston like we wanted to, but again, bookmark that. We'll get to it next episode. Maybe we'll do like a filler episode in the middle of the week or something like that, so we touch on some of the subjects. Because now I understand why some of these podcasts are 3-hour shows. Because the 1 hour we try and stick to can go by real fast.
Well, unfortunately, we're living in interesting times, and now I understand why that was a curse.
My friend, if you want to, do you think it should be legal to dance provocative in front of children? We addressed that earlier in this episode. So when the live stream ends, you can feel free to go back
take your opinion and boof it.
Yeah,
just stick it straight up your
bum.
bum.
Boof it, or you can go back and watch earlier in the episode where we very specifically address that point.
Potato,
already.
tomato, whatever.
But again, I will do my best to facilitate a call-in situation for you goobers to embarrass yourselves in a whole new way. So this has been the Rough Report. Let me get the got to get the chill music playing in the background. There we go. The copyright free. Oh yeah, there it is. This has been the Rough Report. Feeling sexy. All right, hugga fugga, whatever your name is there.